Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS and the CTKS method. If you're new, a very warm welcome and welcome back CTKS family. My goal is to assist you in becoming more of a financial and emotional blessing to yourself and those you love through positive excellence. If you like the content, please smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. We have one of the best communities on YouTube. We look forward to welcoming you into our global family. There are a lot of free resources on CTKSmethod.org. The link is in the description of this video. Let's see where the markets are going in the next 24 hours. And let's run the numbers. To understand where the markets are going in the next 24 hours, it's vitally important to understand the CTKS cheat sheet, especially when we look at the direction, momentum, and structure throughout row 1, row 2, row 3, 4, and all the way down to row 7. One of the easiest ways to get an overall bird's eye view of all of the rows of the cheat sheet is the watch list. The watch list is available in a link in the description of this video. It's also on CTKSmethod.org. What we look at, particularly row 1, is the risk on or off. So far, we've seen positive momentum in terms of the VIX. It going down actually signifies to the market, hey, things are not too bad, but we need to look under the hood. When we look at junk bonds, that improved slightly, but the rest of row 2 was negative, showing that we had a retracement in play. Even though we can get green on the indices for the day, and this is row 3, it doesn't mean that they didn't weaken because of both row 1 and row 2. We'll look into that in a little while. The references, so far, the futures of the major indices are up, but please remember the US market is closed on Monday. And the presidential inauguration is coming up very, very soon. So as far as row 4 goes, we can see that was positive momentum inside the stock market. Row 5, crypto travels 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's going all around the globe and it never stops. We can see there was a bit of weakness inside the crypto market, and we saw that also from the heat map. We can see that people are piling money into stablecoins. Well, it's not really anything to be panicked about. At the moment, that is quite low. But we can see broad-based losses across the board. But these losses are not great. And when we look into row 7, Solana has been doing pretty well. We'll get into Solana just in a little while. And we can see Bonk, which is also a meme coin on Solana, surprise, surprise, hasn't done too badly either. When we look at the VIX forward futures, we can see there's a bit of mixture in here, both positive and negative. But it's kind of pointing through these stats to a bit of an upward momentum inside the VIX. But the markets are not going to open on Monday. They'll open on Tuesday. We've seen a fascinating divergence between the crypto market and Solana. And this has been mainly driven by the meme coin Trump. As Trump is on the Solana network, it naturally flowed through, of course, to Solana, and also some of the other Solana meme coins. And that's what I was highlighting when I went through the heat map. Look at this. The rest of the crypto market is selling down at the current time. To know when things could actually go up or come down, we need to look at Bitcoin structural levels. Just before we do that, we can see at this particular time in the halving cycle, we expect upward price momentum inside Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price momentum could look really random, but it is not. Bitcoin is always moving between structural support and structural resistance. How do you know if a support level or a resistance level is structural? You have to mark up all of price history if it's structural. The best way to do that is level 1 and level 2 standard certification. Basically, if you can draw a line, that is not structure. That's just a regular retail level. I discuss a lot how you can break out of the retail mindset, which will basically butcher your account value inside the Profiting from CTKS Method structure course, which is available on CTKSmethod.org. Reading structure is vitally important because it's a knowledge of structure that helps us to understand where support and resistance levels really are. I'll just pop some levels on and we'll zoom out just a little bit so you can see where the structure is. We can see that we came through this 102,691 structural resistance, but when we got up to the 106,039, we rejected. There were just far too many sellers there, and piling through these structural sell levels is often really difficult. We generally get attraction back to gravitational wells, and when you see a lot of lines all hanging out together, that is a gravitational well, or GW. And what we can see, we went back into the 102,691, and we're starting to seek to re-challenge the 106,039 level. The bulls will need to get above this structural resistance, confirm a support, and rally it forward to maintain the bullish momentum. If we find that we come down and underside retest that 102,691, that will put the 99,798 in play. One thing that we must always look at is Bitcoin in relationship to total crypto market cap. Total crypto market cap will give us a comprehension on if Bitcoin can strengthen or weaken. First thing, we need to look at the structural levels. If we don't know what the structural levels are, we're in a world of hurt because we're just guessing. We could fall into the retail trap of just drawing a line and saying, oh, this is the most important line ever in existence, but it's not true. For example, as Bitcoin was coming up to that 106 level, it got rejected. Note how total crypto market cap, the entire crypto market, confirmed as support at that 3.48 trillion. Very important. That supported Bitcoin in its bounce upwards. I teach you how to read through charts in the Profiting from CTKS Method Structure course as well. And of course, we'll cover those things off in the daily videos. We can see that Bitcoin's price momentum was supported around this $3.535 trillion area, and we've done just an intermediate cut over, so it's favoring a movement up towards the 3.59. And also you can see that there's not much structurally above in terms of above this previous resistance, which was that 106 level on Bitcoin. So if we manage to get above 3.59 and confirm, we could be heading to the 3.63 relatively easily. If anybody ever says to you, there's no resistance above, please just make sure that you understand they're totally retail. What does retail mean? Actually, the Profiting from CTKS Method Structure students, please let me know your answer to that. I would love to cover this off in future videos. It's not a criticism of retail whatsoever. It's just what people who don't know what they're doing do. The reason that we look through the cheat sheet is because all charts are intercorrelated and interconnected. It's the intercorrelation and interconnection structurally that impacts everything, impacts the chart that you're trading and investing in. For example, we saw that around the 17th, the S&P 500 came up to that 59.58 level, and it got stuck in a range between 59.58, that structural level, and this structural level, 59.41. When it actually broke out, and it broke out extremely well because the VIX plummeted. If you don't know the relationship between the S&P 500 and the VIX, you're in a world of hurt. Major market indices will impact all of your stocks. And it rallied up to the structural sell levels where they became a minor gravitational well around that 60.15 mark. We can see that we're retracing back to the 59.85. I'll show you the VIX in a moment to give you some context on where things can be going in the next 24 to 48 hours. And don't forget, the markets are closed currently, and they'll also be closed tomorrow. The bulls will need to get above 60.15 and confirm that as support to go higher. And if the bears get control, they'll seek to push it down to the 59.58 mark or even lower. The reason the price is always moving in a wave is basically fear and greed. One thing, this is the VIX. When the VIX spikes up, we see very, very negative volatility hit the main markets and also crypto. The VIX has been coming down, but it's starting to base. That makes the S&P 500 curl over. If this actually forms a BA or a buy arc, we would expect positive price momentum but there is a substantial gravitational well playing out around that 1850 area. So any upside should be limited and should continue downwards. If we see a confirmation above that gravitational well, confirmation and a retest of support, things could get very interesting inside the markets. So far, when looking through all of the earnings reports of the companies that are going to be reporting this week, basically 95% of them are beating their earnings. They have positive earnings. This is a very good sign for the stock market. So if we see a retracement, which we do all the time, you can see like this, came down, went up, and then decayed. But just don't forget, when it does this, the S&P 500 does that, the stocks do that, and Bitcoin and crypto do that. It's not a reason to get freaked out or anything, it's just a reason to be aware. If you're retail, you see red, you sell. The institutions know this. If you know the CTKS method, you see red, you know what you're doing. And you love to buy at a discount. A lot of people mistakenly think that Bitcoin, which is this blue line, and say, for example, the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or the Russell 2000, they're all independent of each other. This is a total retail lie. They are very dependent on each other. And you can see as the S&P 500 has been coming up and the NASDAQ has been coming up, the Russell has been coming up, the Dow has been coming up. What's been happening to Bitcoin? Well, it's done relatively well, very well in fact. But if the major market indices start to retrace, that could give some fantastic buying opportunities on Bitcoin. Remember, it cannot go up forever. Having pullbacks is natural. And unfortunately, retail thinks that it can only ever go up. They don't think it can do this, even though the price action is directly in front of them. That's why you must always look at the reality of price. And as we're starting to get a slight curl over here in the major market indices, especially the Russell 2000, the Russell 2000 is really quite a good indicator of where Bitcoin could go. That's exactly and precisely why the crypto market is so red in the heat map that I showed you at the start of the video. Now you know. It is not whale manipulation, it's not anything like that, it's intercorrelation and interconnection. Inside week 2 of the Profiting from CTKS Method structure, you'll get a lot of insight how you can predict tops and bottoms on all of the cheat sheet components. It's very, very valuable. And there are a lot of free resources on ctksmethod.org. And if you just scroll down the homepage, you can get to the free cheat sheet. The free cheat sheet is fantastic. It will give you an insight into financial markets that will simply be unmatched. And it's completely free. And if you go down a little bit lower, you can see a lot of different videos, and there's the official ticker list for the service as well. That's what I was showing you earlier on in the video. That one is completely free. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.